Greetings, I am Etherion, and this is Break the Illusion. This song is not only about resistance, it is about recognition. It is about the moment a person begins to see that much of what has governed their life was never truly who they were. So many people live inside structures they did not consciously build. They live inside fear they inherited, inside labels they accepted, inside roles they learned to perform, inside limits they repeated so often that those limits began to feel like truth. And over time, what was only a pattern becomes an identity. What was only a wound becomes a definition. What was only a survival strategy becomes a way of life. That is the illusion. The illusion is not simply that the world is difficult. The illusion is that your fear is your nature, that your pain is your name, that your conditioning is your character, that the smallest version of you is the truest version of you. And Break the Illusion was written to confront that lie directly. This song teaches that one of the greatest prisons in human life is not always visible. It is the prison of false belief. It is the prison of inherited identity. It is the prison created when a person begins to confuse what happened to them with who they are. Many people say, "This is just how I am. This is just how life works. This is just what I have to carry." But very often, those words are not wisdom. They are resignation. They are the language of a mind that has adapted to confinement. And this song challenges that adaptation. Break the Illusion is the moment the soul refuses agreement with the lie any longer. It is the moment something deeper rises up and says, "I will not continue to bow to fear. I will not continue to worship limitation. I will not continue to live inside a story that was built from pain, shame, and survival alone." That is why this song matters in everyday life, because this is not only a dramatic spiritual idea, it is something people face every single day. They face it when they stay silent because fear tells them their voice has no value. They face it when they remain trapped in old patterns because the familiar feels safer than the true. They face it when they call their self-doubt humility, when they call their exhaustion discipline, when they call their fear wisdom, when they call their confinement responsibility. And slowly, the illusion becomes respectable. It becomes organized. It becomes rational. It becomes normal. But normal is not always true, and familiar is not always freedom. This song is a reminder that awakening often begins with disruption. Before there is expansion, there is exposure. Before there is freedom, there is the painful recognition that you have been cooperating with something unworthy of your spirit. That recognition can feel uncomfortable, but it is sacred, because you cannot break what you are still pretending is natural. So, the deeper message of Break the Illusion is this: you must learn to question the stories that shaped you. You must learn to examine the fears you have mistaken for guidance. You must learn to recognize where you have been loyal to a smaller self out of habit, not truth. And then, you must choose. Will you protect the illusion because it is familiar, or will you break it because your soul was made for something greater? That is the teaching inside this song. Not every wall is made of stone. Not every cage has bars. Some prisons are built from language, from memory, from shame, from repeated thought, from accepted limitation, and many people never escape them because they never realize they are there. But the moment you can see the illusion, it has already started losing power. The moment you can name the lie, you are no longer fully ruled by it. The moment you remember that fear is an experience, not an identity, something begins to return to you. Clarity, strength, choice, direction. And that is where transformation begins, not when the whole world changes first, but when truth becomes more important to you than the false self you learned to protect. So if Break the Illusion speaks to you, let it do more than entertain you. Let it examine you. Let it challenge you. Let it show you where you have made peace with what was never meant to define you. Let it remind you that awakening is not only about feeling light. Sometimes awakening begins with refusal. Refusal to remain asleep. Refusal to remain afraid. Refusal to remain identified with the wound. This song is that refusal. It is the sound of inner rebellion. The sound of false walls cracking. The sound of truth pressing through the dark. And once the illusion begins to break, you can never see the old prison in quite the same way again. That is the meaning of Break the Illusion. And if you can hear that signal, then something in you is already waking.